All right, continuing from the first part of what we've done with quadratic formula, what I want you to do now is actually to practice a problem. So what I want you to write this problem down, and then find the values of A, B, and C. So hit pause and go ahead and write down the values of A, B, and C. All right, I hope you had enough time to go ahead and do that. So now we do A is -2. A is the term in front of x squared. B is the term in front of x, so that is going to be a +3. And C is our constant term, which in this case is -10. Now I want you to plug that into the quadratic formula. Remember, the quadratic formula is -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You need to get in the habit of writing that formula down. That way you can remember it, because you're going to have to remember it for all of your assessments. All right, so use A, B, and C, plug these values in for the quadratic formula, and stop. So go ahead and hit the play button or the pause button and try that. All right, I hope that you've done that. So -3, -b, plus or minus square root. Please put everything in parentheses. So when I plug in the 3, I am going to put it in parentheses, because if it's a negative and it's squaring it, that's going to do something completely different. So 3 squared minus 4 times A, which is -2, and then C, which is -10. Again, put everything in parentheses. The radical bar goes all the way over the top of that, all over 2 times A, which is -2. Okay, hit the pause button again. I want you to simplify everything on the bottom and everything under the radical. Do not actually simplify the radical, just simplify the stuff underneath. So hit pause and do that. Working through this, we should have -3 plus or minus square root. 3 squared being 9. -4 times -2 is a +8. +8 times -10 is going to be -80. Guys, if you just want to type that into the calculator without the square root bar over the top of it, it'll actually simplify it for you, and that might be the best idea. That way you don't mess up the negatives. But if you see 3 negatives, you know it's going to be a negative there. And this is all over 2 times -2, which is -4. I'm simplifying this a little bit further. We have -3 plus or minus the square root 9 minus 80, which is -71 over -4. Now we need to simplify the square root. We need to try to break down 71. Remember, every time I told you saw a negative underneath the radical, you have to take your I out. So this should be -3 plus or minus I square root 71 over -4. We can try to break down 71, but 71 is another prime number, so we're not going to be able to break that number down at all. So this is your final solution for that problem. Now, one more problem that I want us to work together before I let you have your free practice is n squared plus 17 equals 0. This problem looks very different from any of the other ones that we've done. What I want you to do is hit the pause button again, identify A, B, and C, and then come back to check your solutions. All right, so A is going to be the number in front of our square. This time we're using n's and not x's. So the number in front of this, if there's nothing there, it's understood to be a 1. There is not just an n term here. So the n term, our b term, is going to be 0 in this case. And then our constant term is 17. Please don't get messed up with that. That middle term is not there, so that has to be a 0. There has to be something there to hold its place, so that's just a 0. Now go ahead and plug that into the quadratic formula and simplify it. Whenever you are done, hit the play button again to check your solution. All right, working through the problem, -b, so we have -0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 1 times 17 all over 2 times 1. 0 just drops off. If you want to leave it out in front, that's fine. Plus or minus square root. 0 squared is again 0. -4 times 1 is -4. -4 times 17 gives me a -68 over 2 times 1, which is 2. There's a negative underneath, so that means we need to bring out our I. Plus or minus I square root 68 over 2. Now we need to try to simplify the square root of 68. So we take 68, we break it down, it's even. So that's 2 and 34. Breaks down a little bit further. That is 2 and 17. And then 17 is a prime number, so we can't go any further than that. Circle your pairs. The 2's pair up, so that means they get to come out. The 17 has to stay underneath. So I have plus or minus 2i square root 17 over 2. Now we actually need to go one step further. Always check your numbers on the outside of the square root. You can see that there's a 2 out here and there's a 2 there. Both of them are divisible by 2, so I'm actually going to divide both of them by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, so you get plus or minus 1i, so I'm just going to leave it I, square root of 17 over 1, and you can just leave that as plus or minus I square root of 17, and that would be your solution for this problem. One more thing that I want to talk to you about on simplifying square roots. If we end up with a problem that looks, here, let's try again. Something like that, okay? You do need to simplify it. Look at your numbers on the outside. The number on the inside does not matter at all. Just look at the numbers on the outside. So we have a 4, an 8, and a 10. All three of those are divisible by 2. So we're going to divide each one of those numbers by 2. Again, ignore the number inside the square root. That one does not matter. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. So this would be the simplified version of that square root. So at the very end, always check your three numbers on the outside to see if they simplify. All right, what I want you to do now is to go to your worksheet. I want you to try problems number 11 through 15. And if you have any questions, raise your hand. Your teacher will come around and help you.